The telephone. Over the course of the late 19th century, all the way into the 21st century today, has evolved as a communication medium in both purpose and ability exponentially. Phones have gone from devices installed into wall booths, residential and commercial spaces with limited range within communities synced by expansive landlines, to handhelds that enable calling and text message to people across the planet instantaneously. Here, we will follow the progress of the phone from 1900 in steps of 30 years up until the 2010s in both its technological design and application in people's lives. Entering the 1900s through the 1930s, the idea of point-to-point communication over vast distances was an unprecedented discovery that transformed the speed and efficacy in which people interacted. When the first telephone was developed by inventor and teacher for the deaf Alexander Graham Bell in 1876, the device was considered at best a novel tool made for business, as only companies or the wealthy could afford such a luxury that had potential to be useful, but needed more time and development to become economically feasible in the United States of America and Europe, in terms of establishing telephone landlines and distributing more phone installations across American communities. It was only after 1900 and early on into the 20th century that the device began to be installed in private homes. Between 1900 and 1930, telephones became a crucial part in people's everyday lives. In the 1940s, the rotary phone was popularized, a device that allowed the user to direct a call to their desired point of contact through an operator intermediate by scrolling through a circular dial that rotated back to its starting position and registered a calling number to the operator. Each time the dial was turned to a specific number, the number would be registered as an electric signal that was recorded as a distinct signal at the operator's end. Throughout the 1940s into the 1970s, the United States, Europe, and the entire international community slowly adopted rotary phones and wall phones with touch-tone dial systems later. By 1970, this 30-year period allowed the world to accept phone technology as a common and needed aspect in their lives, feeding the phenomenon of globalization that would take place decades later. In the 1980s, rotary phone technology had been fully embraced and was ubiquitous in the US, Europe, and across the globe in the inception of globalization of business, trade, and therefore communication. Additionally, the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union accelerated the development of rocket technology, leading to the enabling of satellite launches to facilitate wireless communication. Eventually in this period, we see the introduction of commercial mobile phones, large, block-shaped devices that required far-extending antennas to improve range. The idea that these clunky devices would be common, integral parts of people's everyday lives were often scoffed at by the average person, aside from business people, military, or futurists. Only time would tell for wireless phones' usefulness in the world. Throughout the 1990s into today, wireless cellular phones, dubbed cell phones, are more prevalent and are seen increasingly less as a gimmick for wealthy corporate officials and more as a popular, needed device in society. In this time, a significant amount of government and private funding across the world was invested into condensed matter physics research, which namely introduced the minimization of the transistor, the critical computing device which made it practical to optimize memory storage onto tiny printed circuit boards, as well as the development of advanced, precise manufacturing machines to assemble those transistors. In this period, phones went beyond the standard auxiliary function of point-to-point communication to the ability to capture photos and send to others, in addition to text messaging capabilities and applications which made a multitude of previously separate devices such as recorders, music players, and wall phones obsolete, as they could be consolidated into this one tool. Further minimization of space and maximization of memory storage ability in electronics led to what is dubbed as smartphones today. The development of liquid crystal display glass enables touchscreen technology, and the introduction of lithium-ion battery technology enabled cell phones to last extensive periods of time on a given charge. Over the course of about a century, the phone has evolved drastically from a simple point-to-point communication device that businesses only found use for, to a miniature device that is more powerful than all of the computing and calculating devices developed over all the previous decades combined by several orders of magnitude, which processes billions of units of data each moment that even small children have access to. With the inception of Voice over Internet Protocol, which led to instant video audio calling internationally, the trajectory of communication technology seems unknown up to this point, due to the significant, seemingly exponential strides technology has made within such a short time relative to the course of our small human history. It is hard to imagine what remarkable breakthroughs will be made within phone communication going forward, after reflecting on the leaps that communication technology has made so far. Only time and progress will tell.